Hey folks, and welcome to the Daily Ratings Podcast. It's a show where each week we're going to be sitting down with Vincent Daly to get his thoughts on the latest movies he's been watching, both older films and new releases. And don't worry, there's no spoilers. Vince will give a brief review of the movie, share some thoughts, and of course, then rate the film. The daily ratings are always fair, honest, and most importantly, they're consistent. On today's show, Vince will be rating and reviewing. We just have two for you this week, folks. So we are covering now in theaters newly released Mufasa: The Lion King, directed by Barry Jenkins. And then, of course, we have Sonic the Hedgehog 3, directed by Jeff Fowler, who has done all three of those movies now. So it's a kid-friendly show. We're getting ready for the holidays here, folks. Let's hear what Vincent Daly has to say about it. Stay tuned and enjoy the show. Mr. Vincent Daly, across the table. How you doing, buddy?
You beat me to it. I was going to say Merry Christmas right out of the gate. Merry Christmas, Tom.
Merry Christmas to you. Happy holidays abound. How was, this is, I think, our smallest week we've ever had on the podcast.
I don't know if we've ever done a 2-slot.
I don't think so. It's rare that we've ever done 3.
I can tell you, I really was almost, I didn't know what to do with my time. I didn't know what to do. I was needing to watch more movies. I was like, well, I'm going to save it. So I was biting my time. But yeah, out of the many movie combo weeks we've had Glicked, we've had Barbenheimer, now we have Mufasa.
Ooh, no, I like that.
Not a real thing.
I like Mufasa. I like Mufasa a lot, actually.
Not a real thing. Maybe we can get that going. Mufasa.
So these three, we have Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which last week you broke the news and said you were somewhat excited for the film.
Yeah.
And then we have Mufasa: The Lion King, which I really think, as far as it didn't have the best box office, and it's just like this movie wasn't being talked about at all. It wasn't a big deal that a Lion King movie was coming out. And I think it's because you had Wicked, kind of Wicked, but you had Moana coming out.
Sure.
Which kind of took storm and overshadowed this.
Mm-hmm. Ties back to that review, what we talked about, that Moana 2 was planning on being a Disney Plus release. I mean, I think they're happy they didn't, but maybe they cannibalized the market a little bit.
Well, I think they did, because it's just like, man, this didn't do... I don't think Despicable Me 4 was talked all that much about, but that was a huge success box office wise. This, again, it's just like it's The Lion King.
Yeah.
This should be the Disney release of the year, practically. And you have Barry Jenkins.
Sure, absolutely.
Directing, which is just wild.
A major director, first crack at animation. You know, something I was excited to see it for.
The fact that, not that you were very excited to see it.
Yeah, no. I'm certainly not excited after the fact.
But I don't know, it just surprised me that you have this massive property and like this is the weakest of some of all animation this year.
Yeah, I feel you. And I don't know, it's one of those things where it's like timing is tricky. You know, obviously with the Thanksgiving weekend, maybe there's just like more that you're not necessarily doing. So the movie theaters is an option, but I don't know how that's too different during the holidays around Christmas time. But I guess we'll see.
Sonic did great.
Yeah.
They're kind of cannibalizing each other a little bit, but I mean, Mufasa. Yeah, I don't know. It just surprises me that this is the one that took the backseat.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we'll see.
We'll see
Nosferatu eat all of their lunches.
You want to talk about our plans?
Yeah, we can talk about the plans. So on Christmas, as we've said before on the podcast, my birthday is on Christmas. I mean, probably the best gift I could ever ask for is Nosferatu being released on the 25th. So we are going to see a 9 o'clock show.
9 p.m.
9 p.m. yeah.
Although 9 a.m. would be hilarious. We go our matching PJs, Christmas PJs.
Oh, nice.
Little cocoa, hot cocoa.
Yep.
Yeah, a group of 4 of us are going.
Yeah. I'm super excited about it.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't be. I was listening back to the Tom Daly's of 2023, and I was like, oh, Nosferatu's coming out. I was like, I hate that it's coming out on Christmas. I don't like it. I don't like any of
You
this.
said you hated it.
Yes, and here I am going.
There you go. Yeah.
But that should be a good watch.
Yeah, one of our buddies didn't want to go because he thought it was scary. And I was just like, I don't know. I as much as it's... I've watched a lot of interviews with Eggers by this point because he's kind of an interesting guy. And yeah, there was just so much that's just like the first Nosferatu, was maybe scary for like 1920 whatever it came out in. But like this one, it feels like it's more like spooky vibes. Not scary, more spoopy.
You're getting that. You're getting that from his interviews, or just a trailer? I think it's gonna be a spook. It's gonna be the scariest movie I've ever been to. I think.
No, really?
Yeah. Well, one, I don't go to one, but two,
yeah, true.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
I tried to
3
get you
probably
to
would
do
have been.
First Omen earlier this year.
You did.
You shot that down right away.
I think this is gonna be a scary movie.
Well, I hope so too.
Okay.
He's got like thousands of rats or something like that. This has been my fact checking with the film, and I gotta control my hype a little bit, but apparently like
tell that to the massive grin on your face. Just talking about it.
They're using real rats. They're using like hundreds of real trained rats.
I'm more than down for that.
That's so awesome. I love it.
And we don't have that. That goes all the way back to Raiders of the Lost Ark, I think. The scene with the rat.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, those are real rats.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, sure, of course.
But
ILM wasn't that good back then.
What Eggers loves to do there, and practical and everything, I think it's going to be incredible.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to see some great design. I'm excited. I think the reason why I'm excited is because I'm just excited for you.
Yeah, sure.
Because then I'm just like, do I really want to go see this on Christmas? But no, we're going. Don't worry, I'll sit there. I'll have my big bucket of popcorn. If I need to put it over my face at some point, I will.
To block the line of sight.
But okay, so before we start here for this week, if people are tuning in, we kind of just wanted to restructure the beginning of the year for January. So because we feel like there's so much, there's actually more than maybe what we originally thought as far as what we want to catch up for 2024.
So true.
A lot of this stuff is coming out in the last week. Like this very week, a lot of movies are coming out in limited theaters. Ones that we can't even really get to. So for the first 2 weeks of January, we are going to do catch-up episodes instead of just one. So next week, we're going to cover Nosferatu, the OG.
Yep.
We're going to do the Bob Dylan movie.
Yep.
And maybe another one as well. And then the week after that we'll do the first week of catch-up movies. The next week after that will be catch-up movies. And then we'll have the Tom Dailies. We just feel like we really want to get... Because Vin brought this up to me just before recording. We really want to feel like we can get these watched, so we can have a proper Tom Dailies at least.
Yeah, absolutely.
And put a close to 2024, so we can move on then.
Sure.
And
even though plenty might still land in 2024, we're gonna kind of consider them 2025.
That's what we did this year for taste of things.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that we're counting for this year's Tom Dailies.
Yeah, I think also it's a little bit of frustration of like kind of the hurry up and wait mentality of like getting these nominations and whatnot. It's kind of like, I know what had some buzz earlier in the year and things that I didn't get to. So
right.
that's determining a little bit of the catch-up list as well.
I can't wait. There's stuff like we've talked about before. There's stuff that I want to watch, and I'm increasingly getting frustrated because Vin was like, "What do you think about doing 2 catch-up episodes?" And I'm fine with it. I'm worried that we're not going to be able to see any of it.
Right.
Like half the list that we have because of the limited theater release.
Yep.
That's what I was trying to say, that like we're actively engaged in this, and we still can't even get to there's nothing around. It's for LA people and New York people, and like that's
it. Absolutely.
But anyway, that's that. So that's our structure. Next week, Nosferatu, and then we have 2 catch-up weeks, and then the big Tom Dailies. Any opening notes here, Vin, before we start?
I'm curious which one you want to start with, actually.
I had Mufasa because I feel like you liked Sonic better.
Okay.
But if you want to end on Mufasa, we can because we saw it together.
Sure. Your call.
Okay, let's do
Yeah, I think also the problem with doing 2 slots is if they're both like very like meh, I'm not very excited to talk about either, honestly. So
I just have a feeling I should have got you drunk before this episode. I don't know why. Let's start with I'm excited to hear your Sonic the Hedgehog review.
Okay, all right.
Can we go into that?
That's great. That's great.
So Sonic the Hedgehog, and I said at the beginning, this is directed by Jeff Fowler, who now has done all 3 of them.
Yeah, including the Knuckles show as well. So this is his baby. He
does care about it.
Yeah.
It is his baby.
Absolutely.
That reminds me of the guy who did The Incredibles, kind of. You get a point where you're attached to the IP. Because with a lot of these, they just look at Moana.
Yeah.
Completely different directors.
Absolutely. Toss to the side.
So you said you were possibly excited for this one last week, and the reason being is we set up all the garbage we needed to in the past 2 films.
Bingo.
So let's just have a rootin' tootin' time.
That is the best elevator pitch I could ever give Sonic 3. Let's have a rootin' tootin' time.
Rated PG to an hour and 50 minutes. Vin, get into Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Well, as one of our earlier reviews, we've officially come full circle on the Sonic trilogy, once again directed by Jeff Fowler's kind of his claim to fame now. Thinking back on those movies, though, the biggest issue next to just those horrific Olive Garden ad placements was probably just how much each struggled to kind of capture something real, a real feel to the Sonic games. Sonic 1 boiled down to a buddy cop schlock movie with more time spent in the goddamn car than in actually running. Sonic 2 got a bit closer to those original Sega games, having characters like Eggman feel and look how they should, tech feel and how it looks how it should. But folks, I am very happy to say that my prediction was right on the money, because Sonic 3 feels so much like the Dreamcast, GameCube era games. It might as well be just remaking them. I mean, this is really...
That's how much they feel like...
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
I mean, I could do a whole spoiler review on it of just how many... It goes beyond just Easter eggs, too. It just feels like a game adaptation.
That's all I wanted from the Uncharted movie.
So true.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think
great news.
Yeah, that is great
Christmas
news.
miracle.
It is Christmas miracle new. I have to give it up to Sonic 3. But yeah, I think if you are looking to go into this somewhat blind and just kind of a heads or tails, pun intended, I guess. Nice. Really do. There's something here that I feel like it is really for the fans, and much more than just an Easter egg of just oh, you remember this? You remember this? There was something substance.
It's incorporated in.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Sonic 3 introduces Shadow the Hedgehog, a edgy polar opposite of the blue blur, in a movie that speeds through kind of 3 different versions of itself in an attempt to make every audience, happy in some way. We catch up with Sonic and the gang living their best life, but craving another adventure when news breaks of a mysterious hedgehog attacking Tokyo. Shadow's vendetta for humans puts him on a warpath that Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles will try to stop without really knowing the whole picture. The shady military organization Gun pulling the strings on both sides. This conflict is all according to Dr. Robotnik's plan, however, as our little heroes once again fall into his trap, which this time includes his grandfather, who is 10 times more evil, Gerald Robotnik. It's kind of unreal that I have to summarize characters like Shadow the Hedgehog, which, obviously as a child I grew up with them, but I just didn't think it would cross paths. I would say right out of the gate here, folks, it always really surprises me how Jim Carrey gets top billing for these movies, but he really earns it here because he's playing 2 versions of Robotnik, which the movie absolutely leans into in how ridiculous the idea is. I mean, even kind of just 4th wall breaks of him recognizing that it's 2 of him on the same screen.
You usually hate that, don't you?
I kind a little bit. I mean, we haven't had a chance to cover actors playing multiple characters, a la Austin
Tom
Powers.
Hardy thing,
Yeah. I'm thinking more in a comedic sense, but you're absolutely right. With what was that, Legend? What was that movie called?
Was it Legend?
Yeah, he played 2 brother gangsters.
Yeah, Oblivion, Tom Cruise. I remember before Oblivion, and I was like, "How is it? It's good. Is it good?" And Vin was just like, "It's a lot of Tom Cruise." I won't say any more, but it's a lot of Tom Cruise.
That's so great. I kind of like Oblivion too. But it is a lot of Tom Cruise. I'll kind of explain a little bit of how this movie splits itself into thirds in just a little bit, but man, the largest slice of that pie goes to this subplot of just two Robotniks bonding together as evil villains, and there's a lot of fun with that. I feel like this movie could obviously work for the Sonic fans, could obviously work for the kids that have stuck with this trilogy, but kind of independently, it's so Jim Carrey focused that if you like Jim Carrey and don't even know anything about Sonic, I feel like this could be a recommend as well, because he's just like he gets entire scenes, entire stretches without a CGI character on screen. And it's like, all right, maybe that was just in the contract. That's what brought him back. It's all pretty stupid, but it's also funny in a way that only Jim Carrey can pull off. And I would say the best scene is him dancing through laser tripwires simultaneously as both characters. It really is. It's something else.
Okay,
it's
all right.
Really crazy. I also don't remember the soundtrack too much from the first two movies, but this has a weird fascination with like late 90s, early 2000s techno hits, like techno music drops.
Good, it should.
Yeah.
It totally should.
I know. That's where I would be coming from. I just didn't expect it. We get needle drops from The Prodigy, from the Chemical Brothers, and I mean, that's like totally up my bag.
It's like if John Wick was made in 2001.
Right. Yeah, for real. But I'm just not sure about the inclusion, where it was coming from. I mean, I just don't know. But it was good. It was good.
Do you remember you said that this kind of reminds you more of the GameCube Sonic games, is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
Were these pulling from the soundtracks from the games? Can you remember?
One Easter egg little thing.
Okay.
Which I won't give away because definitely spoilery. If anything, I wish it leaned into that more, because those soundtracks, I mean, they're kind of like butt rock. They're not like really great. They're like very 2000s. But there is something there that is super iconic and it's tied to the Sonic franchise now. More so than even like the old chiptune retro soundtracks. So when it comes to voice acting, I feel like this is another area where I've come around a good bit on this franchise. Ben Schwartz, listen, he can still be super annoying as Sonic sometimes. But I have kind of come around to him in real life, believe it or not. I think the selling point for me is that in some interviews I've watched with him, he has just a real love for this project as a real gamer.
Oh, really?
And some real cred when it comes to that. So at first when I saw him as Ralph Macchio from Parks and Rec, and especially with how pop culture-y Sonic is, it just kind of feels like too much. I feel like for his voice, I've been able to kind of come around to it a little bit.
Wow.
So,
okay. It only took 3 movies, but we're there.
It only took 3 movies.
We're really getting there.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they got Keanu to do his lines through one of those services where you pay an actor to just say a few lines of
cameo?
something. Yeah. That's what Keanu's inclusion feels
Keanu's
like
playing Shadow.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
And he just feels like... I don't know. They set up a trailer outside of one of his motorcycle shops or something like that. And they're just like, all right, let's knock out these lines.
Wow, Keanu's catching strays.
Yeah. And I would say Idris Elba, again, another one where I wasn't in love with it. It's still a bit odd, his direction he goes with it, but he got a whole spin-off streaming show that was...
Knuckles has a whole show?
A whole show. Now, granted, I don't know if it's
he's
more
doing
like
the voice.
8 episodes. Yeah, it's a whole show. And it's also the only other credit to our director. So it's just like
what the hell?
All the way.
What is that? That's on Paramount Plus?
I think so. Yeah.
Maybe we should watch it.
I don't know.
Idris Elba's behind. Are you kidding me?
It's just called Knuckles.
If Taylor Sheridan should write season 2, maybe I'll watch.
Hell yeah. Taylor Sheridan takes on the Tails origin story. But yeah, people seem to really like that so much, so he's probably not going anywhere with this character. I would wonder if Keanu's really going to be attached at the hip for every Sonic property, but...
Well, if it's one day of... If it's one day of doing voice and a big old paycheck, are you kidding me? Stop on by the motorcycle shop.
Yeah. There's something there, though, that I think the success of this, we're probably going to see a 4th in some capacity, and I wonder how many of the returning voice acting we're going to get. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah, for some reason in my head, ever since we started this, I kind of thought that it was just supposed to be 3.
Absolutely.
But there is really no bounds.
Yeah.
This did 60 million opening weekend, and when you're going up against another huge... You're going up against the Lion King,
yep.
and you shoot it down, and you get almost... you do almost twice as good as it. That's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. That's punching up.
Yeah.
And I also think there's something too, like there are a lot more cast of characters that are not pulled from yet, that at least a fourth film, maybe not fifth, sixth, but at least a fourth film could be used in just the same way that this was the unveiling of Shadow on the big screen. They could do so much more with, the kind of the rogues gallery, if you will, of Sonic.
Almost they can't just have Knuckles show flailing out there too.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, they need some sort of support. Absolutely. Yeah. The content pipeline. Not to cynical it up. I'll save all my cynicism for Mufasa. But Tom, I should have put big money on my prediction because I was dead right about ripping the story just directly from the games. I mean, that's where I'm saying rejoice. Gamers, you got your wish. This is like might as well be just Sonic Adventure, and I just can't tell you. Like, it really, with video game adaptations, it boils down to, is it for the cash grab, for grabbing an audience that's going to see it regardless, or is it trying to be something faithful? And finally, it's
having fun.
Yeah, this is trying to be something faithful, which is just like so much more than I could say for that just the first film in this trilogy. Like, what an improvement,
transformation.
Yeah, absolutely. Where Sonic's not even running for half the film. I mean, Christ. But I obviously can't get into every beat for spoiler reasons. But this just pulled so much from Sonic Adventure and those type of era of games that it might as well just change the name to it. You get plenty of Easter eggs, and especially while they're in Tokyo, there's a lot of jet set adventure to this one, believe it or not. They really do a lot of hopping in Tokyo. They get a lot out of the way with that, but even well into the main run of the story, this was just constantly pulling from games, whether it's Shadow's Origins, a climax in space, one very specific song choice that made my theater explode into cheers. Yeah, it was very much like a Deadpool 3 moment where it was just like, wow, the energy, this was worth kind of seeing opening night.
Very cool.
Yeah. But don't get me wrong. This does create a lot of moments where I was kind of laughing at the movie for how ridiculous it was.
Sure, yeah.
There's a scene where a full decorated military general is giving a debrief to Sonic in like a very cutesy Japanese cafe. Yeah. And then Sonic is standing over his like dying body, and it's just like the most like ridiculous thing. Like, how is this ever put into reality? But for the most part, I feel like just good intentions were in every ounce of this DNA. This film really had the goals of just like doing it for the fans and doing it in not like, again, a tacky Easter egg kind of way. Folks, it's very silly. It's a scattershot movie. But I think in a good way, it still kind of has those family focus beats that I talked about in the first two, way back when we reviewed them. Especially Knuckles, Tails, and Sonic, they're still kind of like kids to our two human characters, James Marsden, cop friend. And I don't know, there's just something pure about that I feel like, I don't know, I really did enjoy that this is still kids first, even though it has so much to do with the longtime fans of the series and doing it for them. It's one part Jim Carrey comedy vehicle, it's one part globe-trotting spy action, and it's one part love letter to the video game fans. And like I said just a moment ago, these video game adaptations, my thoughts boil down to two lanes. Is it faithful or is it a cash grab? And honestly, off the back of Brandon's donation note last week, we unfortunately still have plenty of examples in both categories, in both lanes. Like, you think the days of a bad video game adaptation would be over, just rip off the game, but no. They are continually falling down the hole. But something here, I have to be honest, this just really tried to be a faithful to an era of Sonic that many remember super fondly. And it took just beyond just throwing in Easter eggs in her face. And maybe best of all, count them, zero Olive Garden advertisements in the whole runtime. We're going to go ahead and give Sonic 3 a 62.
A 62%. Okay, I thought it was going to be higher.
Really?
How many smiles were on your face? And how positive you were talking about it. I was expecting over 65.
Smiling because I was just right. I made a successful bet or a successful call in a long history of me never making the right call for Hollywood decisions.
Okay, so 60. I just thought it was going to be higher than this. So the first one got a 40. The second one got a 59.
Oh, okay. I actually stayed away from my original reviews or the scores. I just tried to, go in with the open mind.
Okay, and you gave this one 3% higher, 62.
There it is.
So I guess that's good. And but 62 is, all right film. That was an old episode. That was episode 29 on the podcast.
I think the Fantastic Beasts as well.
That was the wand spanking episode, yes.
The wand spanking. Oh, my God. If I ever have to review another Fantastic Beasts film, oh, my God.
So, yeah, like I said, episode 24 might not be... I don't know how sharp we are in the mics.
I don't know. I like those old episodes, honestly.
Right? The awkwardness. Me chiming in once in a while, I guess. 62% for Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Vin, thank you very much. Not going to even play the producer music because we just have our great monthly producer coming in. Linda Schiller is coming in with a movie ticket, her monthly movie ticket for you, Vin. Great. And as always, Linda, we appreciate it so much. Anytime you want to write in a note, you have something you want to say, just email us and we'll read it right here in the producer segment. So, folks, just remember that Vin and I are completely producer-supported. We're not going to have advertising on the website or the podcast. We're not a payment tier structure. We're not paywalls. We don't have any paywalls on this site or anything like that. It's not paid to access our content. Everything Vin and I do is out there for free. But if you're using it and if you're enjoying yourself here, can you show us what value you're getting? Because we look at it as that's value in your pocket. Can you send us some value back in our pocket? You go to thedailyratings.com, head to the donations tab, and through your monetary support, you become a legitimate, actual producer of the Daily Ratings because we're just producer supported. Just like in Hollywood, when you financially support a project, you're a producer of the project, and that's how we're doing it. And again, right there on the website, on the donations tab, you'll see the big value for value button there, and that's because you don't need to have a set donation, although we have some of those. It doesn't need to be a certain amount. Everyone's got their own finances. Everyone's got their own thing going on from week to week. The idea is whatever amount of value you feel like you're getting, whatever you have, you can send it in big or small. If you want to send in a $4 donation in, that's great. That's fantastic. You took the time and also just showing some appreciation. Like, we can't tell you how much we appreciate that. You want to send $400 in, that's great. That's fantastic. We can't tell you how much we appreciate that.
We really can't tell you how much we appreciate it.
And when you donate in, when you become a producer, make sure to send in a producer note. So you can write in whatever you want. It could be questions, comments, critiques. It could be suggestions for the show. You are, after all, a producer, and you can email us your note at tom.vin@thedailyratings.com. Email us there. Anything you want to say, anything you want to ask when you produce, head to thedailyratings.com and head to the donations tab. If you want to be executive producer for episode 167, Linda, as always, thanks for being executive producer of 166.
Yes, thank you, Linda.
All right, Vin, with that, let's jump on to Mufasa, the Lion King. Again, rated PG.
Do you think they needed that? I think Mufasa is a recognizable enough name that they just could have called it Mufasa.
Yeah, I think it should have just been called Mufasa. Yeah. But it's the same thing with the Lord of the Rings that we talked about. It's just, are they going to build on this?
Yeah.
But Mufasa the Lion King, it is directed by Barry Jenkins. And
actually, we wouldn't know because we were out of there before the credits even, like any hint at a post-credit. We were out of there the first text on screen.
Ben was laughing because I heard the last song. I heard the credit songs coming up. And I heard he had the jackets in hand, the Tascadus jacket.
He shuffles me the jacket.
But the reason why we kind of have extra emphasis on Barry Jenkins directing this because he did a movie called If Beale Street Could Talk, which Vin covered last year and gave it an 86.
Yep.
It's one of the best movies we covered all year last year. And then he's most famous for his Oscar-winning film Moonlight, which came out in 2016, which is just absolutely huge. So he's like a big-time kind of indie, small-time director, but very, very respected among critics. And audiences, too. But all of a sudden, it's like, what is he doing? Here he is doing Mufasa the Lion King. Our main actor, too, who's doing the voice of Mufasa is Aaron Pierre. Who is kind of an up-and-comer. He's in some shows, but we really liked him in this year's Netflix movie, Rebel Ridge.
Yes.
In fact, we really liked him in that. So anyway, Vin, why don't you just kind of get into the spark notes of Mufasa, and we'll take it back and forth.
Well,
You are such a sourpuss.
I did not like this movie. We're gonna be Tom. Well, I won't put words in your mouth. You enjoyed it.
Not really, but I didn't hate it, and I felt like it did what it had to do for a kids' film.
Okay, fair.
Overall,
fair. I would say where I'll start things is, folks, in previous episodes and previous reviews, I feel like I've really nailed down Disney's offerings into like nice, neat categories, and then this comes along and just messes all of that up. Mufasa is yet another Disney live-action attempt that isn't live-action at all because it's actually just 3D animated. Again, the necessity for Disney to make these type of movies. I mean, if my eyes could roll back any further in my head, believe me, they would. But it's also an entirely new type of style of Disney offering in that they're doing that wrapped up in an original prequel story, and probably most of all with new music for one of Disney's biggest IPs, The Lion King. That new music angle, I felt like was going to be something that I thought was like a big opportunity because, I mean, The Lion King obviously has its run on Broadway. They
redid it.
Probably the very tippy top of the Disney Renaissance in 94. So, yeah, there was something there that I thought, like, this was a big push, and surprises me that it's not doing that well because I feel like if anything could have just ridden on the coattails of the previous movie, I mean, I don't know. It made me curious about 2019's Lion King remake in this same 3D style.
Which you had no interest in even seeing, yeah.
No.
It looked good. Were you not pleased with the animation? I don't want to cut you off, sorry.
No.
What did you think of the animation as far as I thought it looked incredible.
I think the animation looks good in quality, but I feel like my issue with all of these is more so like the attempt for like this photorealism to what is otherwise like a colorful, imaginative 2D animation. It robs something there, and I'll mention it, but we go back to the Little Mermaid review. One of our best clips from that review is me, talking about how ridiculous Flounder looks as another fish instead of this like cute, side companion.
Yeah,
and you get just the same thing here. You got the same thing in Jungle Book. It's like the photorealism they try to achieve with these animals is robbing the magic of why I feel like I cared. And
that's interesting.
At all,
robbing the magic is I can almost agree with. Mm-hmm. As far as me watching and have an issue with it, I didn't. I thought it looked incredible.
Yeah.
I thought it looked incredible and I was impressed. And I personally thought that they were able to have enough difference per character that I could tell who was on screen.
Yeah.
You made a comment as far as something that happens towards the end of the movie and not enough emotion being played.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, okay, you're right on that one.
Yeah.
There was a lack of emotion, big time.
Because they just look like animals. It's just like, I don't know, like, you watch original Lion King, and I mean, their faces are morphing. It's animation, you know? And I feel like the pursuit, like, obviously Disney as the very best in the game, they're in the position to be like, yeah, we're going to make this Nat Geo version of these animals, this hyper-realism.
I think maybe that's why I like it.
Yeah, man, listen, and that in itself is its own sales pitch, but I feel like as soon as you have the musical come in, it's just like, oh, wait, I'm still watching a Disney movie? I kind of would just prefer it to have creativity and imagination in its colors and its animation style, especially for characters. But my disappointment really does still drill into Barry Jenkins. As you introduced, Tom, Moonlight, If Beale Street Could Talk, specifically, these are wonderful dramas that made me really excited to see why he's cracking into animation. But honestly, I feel like this in particular just needed to be kicked to Disney Plus because it wasn't outright bad. But I just feel like it was certainly an uninspired experience that I will forget existed after this week and not representative at all of Barry Jenkins. I mean, like, this reminded me of like when I forget the director's name, but when the director of No Man Land, she was then pulled by Marvel to direct The Eternals. Oh my God. It's just like, why is that the career jump? Also, if there's anything, selling that like Disney is a machine that takes in talents and rounds them out instead of lets them be unique. Yeah, this is showing that exact trend. So, and to do it with Barry Jenkins, I mean, I can't defend the guy. I don't know what he was thinking. But Mufasa, Yeah, told you. I'll save all the cynicism for Mufasa, all the gushing for Sonic. Mufasa is an adventure story told in flashbacks to show how Simba's father earned his role as head of the animal kingdom. Mufasa, as a cub, gets separated from his parents and is adopted by another pride of lions who is cautiously kind of accepts his powerful connection to the living world. A pack of white lions is threatening the Valley of Kings, who are, after everything the light touches, and looking to kill any lion that might have the right claim to the throne. With these outsiders on their tail, Mufasa and his friends must journey back to Pride Rock, but risk exposing the peaceful animals to the hunt of the wild. I think on that note, I kind of want to go into more animation talk, but I don't know. What are some of your thoughts?
No, you go into animation talk.
Well, I think my first note is that I would be lying if I said this didn't look good. I think it does look good. But again, it was more so that I don't know. You are right that like cute lions and photorealistic cute lions is its own appeal to like a 90s animation where there's color and, you know, and different characters.
I just think it looks, I am just so impressed with kind of the realism. Not that it looks exactly real, but it's
pretty close.
You see the adorable lion cubs, and it's like, oh my gosh, that is an adorable freaking baby lion there. This is like when they redid it in 2019. I had no interest in seeing it, but I was like, man, this Simba, that is like the cutest character I've ever seen in a movie ever. I thought the movements and the muscular kind of attributes of the lions looked really good. I even, when the lions were talking, looked good. Like, if you're going for that realism.
So. Absolutely.
It's like, man, if animals talked, it would look like that.
Right.
I get, your appeal of just like, I want to see characters on screen.
Yes.
And that's what the original animation is so good to go. It's so good because they can, their mouths can go crazy and whatever.
Yeah.
I thought it looked beautiful, and it really was like, wow, okay, the Disney engines can do a lot here. Because remember what I was saying about Moana? Now, totally different animation styles.
Sure.
But where I was like, man, that looks the exact same as the first Moana. And it's fine for continuity's sake to keep 1 and 2 the exact same. But it's like, Disney's got more in the tank to make this animation look better.
Right.
For sure.
Especially if they're going to be like kind of the leader of the industry.
And, 4 weeks later, we have this come out, and it's just like, this punches, in my opinion. I think the color and some accuracy to it, I think it can get kids feeling more like they're in the screen almost.
Interesting. Yeah, and you made a good point of when we saw this, there was the kids in the theater were definitely engaged with this.
Yeah.
This was this captured them. I think it's just, again, where I come from is just that for how rich and imaginative that original animation in 2D was, there was something that I kind of just I have an issue with all of these kind of remakes with there.
Sure, a soullessness almost to it.
Yeah. And again, where my position would be is just that these photorealistic animals, for me, just robs that magic of what can be done in 2D and animation and character design, and especially when it comes to emotion on faces. I mentioned the flounder thing with Little Mermaid. Honestly, that's worth going back to that review just for that clip, honestly. But I think a perfect example here is Timon and Pumbaa. They might be cracking jokes, but so much is lost in the emotion and animation of their personality. Nothing is done to play with their shape or communicate the character in any other way than just the voice acting. And I feel like the only thing that separates Pumbaa from a wiry-haired, ugly boar and something actually like scary sometimes to look at, like, is only Seth Rogen's like annoying laugh to it. And it's just like, I don't know. Not if maybe even some characters are photorealistic, others can be more inventive. And if anything, I will say, even just to backtrack my own comment there, what is the toucan or not the toucan? What's the bird? Zazu?
Yep.
Yeah. that was
I don't have a large attachment to this property, by the way.
Not original Lion King?
Like, sure, but no.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were a Jungle Book guy, though.
Kind of. I think as a kid, I thought it was like kind of somewhat scary, the Jungle Book. But I just liked
fears.
I just liked.
That's touching on our Wizard of Oz episode. What you told me after the mics are off.
I just really liked the Jungle Book remake in 2016.
Okay, fair enough. So maybe this realism though, that's your bag. Then I feel like that's a perfect counterexample that you're not attached to these original, animated works. You like this new age of it.
Yeah, I don't think I have a dislike or like for any of it. So, for instance, I love the Brave Little Toaster and the Fox and the Hound.
Okay.
Now, if they did those, maybe I would have an issue with it.
Okay.
But maybe these properties I don't have big of an issue with. It's just like, wow, that looks really good. Now, I don't know. Maybe it's that. I mean, you were about to say with the Zazu bird character, that gets a little animated.
Exactly. A little like it's obviously a bird that isn't like atomically correct, and I just feel like I don't know. Maybe there could have just been more done with like characters that are only comedic, and then you have the realism with like the lions and
That's
stuff.
not
like
bad.
That,
Okay. Yeah.
But the sticking point for me is really Pumbaa because like he looks ugly. This is like the scariest looking African boar. This boar would eat your children, and it's just like just because you have Seth Rogen come out of his mouth. There needs to be more done for a comedic character. There needs to be done for a fun sidekick, and it's just like I feel like it completely lost. It just completely misses the mark, and feels like it's just relying on like, oh yeah, we have a comedian voice acting it. That's enough.
Yeah,
make him say some funny jokes.
Just like Timon or Timon. Timon, yeah, played by Billy Eichner.
Yeah.
Same deal. It was just like, we'll make Timon gay, and he'll be super funny, and was funny,
right?
And he broke the fourth wall and was just like
Yeah.
actively talking about how it was a play and everything
Right,
like that.
right.
The movie. So that was good, but you're right where it was just let's just get the voice actor for it.
Yeah. I feel like the root of this, I've talked about it, much in the past, that visual storytelling is one of the most important pieces for me when it comes to any kind of movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like with animation, visual storytelling is in every ounce of it. Why did you choose to draw this a certain way? Why is this character moving a certain way?
Sure.
What does that do for the experience? And the realism takes a back seat to that.
All right, I think we hit on that enough.
Okay, all right.
What?
I'll let it go.
So I have a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
Because like I said, my engagement or I don't know, my buy-in to the IP is barely there.
Okay.
But going into it, I almost feel it's like this is so huge in the culture and it was a part of childhood and it's one of Disney's massive properties.
Absolutely.
So going into it, I want it to be earned. It's like Tom Hanks at the end of Saving Private Ryan. It's like, earn this, like you do. You're bringing Lion King back. We need and since it's called Mufasa, I want to see him earn the title that he already has circa 1994 Lion King. And I will say, this movie and where they go and what they have to do, I feel like he earns his status and his legacy name. Unlike with Moana 2, where I was so kind of bored with the story. I said on the podcast, we need to go from point A to point B, and there's a hiccup in the middle. There's multiple hiccups. We get the fun thing where we go back into real time, and then we go into old time. Or real time into the prequel time type of deal.
Yep.
And I thought there was enough going on, enough story play there with the characters where this guy has went through enough of a journey this film to earn the name Mufasa and what that means.
Sure, yeah. And in it's the essence of being an adventure movie,
right?
Even if it's about animals, like it is just an adventure movie, and I think, I'm with you.
It was important for me to see.
Yeah,
I think the songs, by the way, done by Lin-Manuel Miranda, again, who's just doing there's music in movie, I guess he just does it. I thought those fell flat.
Yes, I'm glad we agree on this.
Nothing great there, and I hate musicals. I mean, I can't. Yeah. Oh, boy, do I hate musicals.
That was so great because as soon as like a single note was hit, like this is probably like third song in, you just hear like a soft like you heard the music coming, and Tom was like already like knees in athletic stance already. He was out to the bathroom.
Go to the bathroom. I think it's a good time. Yeah. I had to go, and I was just like, okay, I'll just wait for the next number to start.
Yeah, exactly. On that note, though, is what I want to talk about with music. I think the music was not great here. No. And again, that's where it's like, I don't hate them doing more in The Lion King. It's so big. It's like, all right, you gotta kind of, it's The Lion King.
Yeah. But
this reminded me of like the quality of songs we got in Wish, which heavy accusations of AI written there. But, all the lyrics, I feel like in both of these properties just like boil down to just being very cookie cutter. All the tracks are just...
We could have wrote them.
Yeah, just very plain.
Yeah.
Very, very plain. And seriously, it just like, if I'm totally off base on this, please write in. If your family is listening to the Mufasa soundtrack on the ride home, like they would Lion King, sure.
Well, that's the thing. They probably will, but not like...
not like
it's
Lion
not
King.
going to grab hold.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
But I really didn't think a single song was worth remembering. And trust me, I went back and listened to them. There's only an 7 or 8 track soundtrack on this, and man, I mean, just all of them, just like they come and they go.
Yeah, they fall flat.
Yeah. So, voice acting, I would say, was a highlight for me. Like you said already, Aaron Pierre is in this as Mufasa, which wasn't the type of work I was expecting him to get after Rebel Ridge.
He has such a deep voice in Rebel Ridge.
I know.
I almost felt it to be impossible that this was the same guy.
This was another one where I was looking up interviews. I was like, is this really the same guy? Yeah.
What is his voice? Is his voice like the Rebel Ridge guy, or did he straight up just like go up an extra octave?
Yeah, I think somewhere in between. It's a little bit of balance. It's not as deep as Rebel Ridge. Just I think that character as well is like I don't know, reserved obviously for a reason.
Yeah, but he sounds like a kid. Like Mufasa sounds like a kid or a teen.
Yeah,
which Aaron Pierre is not anymore.
Not, yeah, he's a grown man.
So I mean, yeah, props to him.
Yeah. And I would say I really do love Mads Mikkelsen in anything, especially him being a villain. He is the leader of the White Lions in this. The Outsiders, I think, is their group, and he's great. But it is a half good, half bad, because he also has the worst song tied.
Bye bye.
Yeah, the bye bye.
Bye bye.
I make it go bye bye. I make it go bye bye.
My God.
Yeah, that's a rough song.
If that is an example of like what I mean, of just like, is this even lyrics? Like, what is this?
That's what's a rough one.
Yeah.
But Mads is great in it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm rooting for him. I think where I'm all right with this, though, is from the perspective that it's designed for a new generation of kids, and it being an original story as well. I think, again, where previously I was able to pin Disney's offerings down to 3 really neat categories, this kind of shakes that up a little bit, and I feel like, I don't know if that's that obviously that's not a response to criticisms of these type of remakes, but there's something a little different going on than just Lion King 2019 being a beat for beat retelling. Like any nostalgia fueled sequel, it becomes a little obsessed with answering questions no one was asking, but at the same time, framing this as a flashback to teach Simba's son a lesson, I feel like works really well. I think that's where I was still into this being a story, and still happy that this was a kids movie specifically being made.
Sure.
It's bound to do decent, though I don't know how decent in the box office. We'll see after a couple weeks. Apparently Red One even collected its money on Amazon. If anything I'm sure I have to repeat my opinions on what 3D robs from the appeal of Disney movies, so look forward to that in another year or so when it comes down the pipeline. We're going to go ahead and give Mufasa a 53.
Okay, 53%.
You thought it was going to be south of 50?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Really, I think there's enough that just it works on its own.
There's enough there.
Yeah, there's enough there. And if anything, I can't be too mad about the CGI or the 3D animation, because it is its own art kind of style. Mm-hmm. It is its own, medium.
And that's where I'm at. Like I said, I like the animation. My biggest question going in, and I wasn't attached to the IP all that much, so going in, it was, does Mufasa earn the name? Does Barry Jenkins do enough? Does the story do enough to earn one existing? Mm-hmm. And how does it deliver on giving us this massive character that is James Earl Jones? So I think it does. It mostly gets there. Mm-hmm. Even if the music falls flat or this is whatever, and I'm not even that engaged with it. Mm-hmm. But still, it does something. I definitely liked it better than Moana 2. This gets one shoe, but that lace is tied, which is right around that middle section. So we're very similar on it. I guess I'm just speaking more positive because I was expecting maybe such trash. I don't even know.
True.
But 53% and a one shoe lace.
I'm curious. Did James Earl Jones do the 2019? Was he?
Great question. I'm actually on the writers page real quick because Barry Jenkins didn't write it.
Okay,
and maybe that even would have helped it a little bit.
True.
This guy, what an interesting writer.
Yeah,
he's done Rush Hour 2, Rush Hour 3, did Speed 2, but he did Indiana Jones, Crystal Skull, and then he did the original Lion King as well.
Oh wow,
Tower Heist. So let's.
Probably close to being canceled after those Rush Hour movies.
No, the Rush Hour 2 is fantastic.
Oh,
Rush Hour 2.
Yeah, no,
okay,
love
all
the
right.
Rush Hour movies. Online doesn't love those
I was
movies
going to say,
anymore.
easy.
Yeah.
James Earl Jones does do Mufasa.
Okay, good.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and this obviously opened up with a in memoriam,
A loving
too.
tribute to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right. So 53% for Mufasa, a 62 for Sonic. One shoelace on Mufasa there. Did I give a lace to
Sonic?
Moana? No.
Oh, no, I
I
don't-
better not have. I think that was
don't
one
know.
shoelace off. I sure hope so. Anyway.
The proof's in the pudding.
No, yeah, it's one shoelace is untied.
Okay,
One shoelace
there you
untied for
go.
Moana 2. So this is all good. This is perfect. Okay, Vin, looking at these, anything else you want to add, touch on what we're doing next week, or roll credits here?
Merry Christmas to everyone at home. Folks, you made a very special year for us. We did a lot. I mean, we'll reflect probably more specifically in
Yeah.
the Tom Dailies.
I almost feel like it's November still as far as the podcast is
Oh,
concerned.
I know. It's exhausting. We love doing this for you. So hopefully, even with the holidays, you'll have time to listen to this quickie episode. Next week, we will have Mufasa. I saw the U of Nosferatu. I was like, my brain mixed it up there. We're going to do Nosferatu, the OG from the 20s. We're going to do A Complete Unknown. And then also, I'm Not There, another Bob Dylan pick that I've been dying to check out. And yeah, I'm excited actually for next week.
Excellent.
So.
Next week was only going to be 2, and now we're doing 4 films, which is great. So, okay, folks, just buttress that. Absolutely happy holidays, Merry Christmas to you all, and it's always a blast. We thank you so much for coming back week after week as we grow this slowly but surely. We certainly do appreciate it. So, before we end things here, we'll just run it down real quick one more time. Mufasa, the Lion King, with that 53% on a one shoelace. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 with the 62%. Always a great time, folks. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you next week on the Daily Ratings Podcast. And hey, if you enjoyed the podcast, if you would, give us a good rating or get the word out and tell a friend about us. And just a reminder that the Daily Ratings is completely producer supported. We want to stay away from advertising, and we don't want to have any paywalls or tier structures or subscriptions. It's all just value for value. So, are you finding value in what we're doing here at the Daily Ratings? Then become a producer and donate whatever amount of value that is. Just go to the donations tab on thedailyratings.com, and while you're there, be sure to check out the massive amount of films that Vince has rated. So thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you next time on the Daily Ratings Podcast.